15 accountants failed, but this delivery girl warned the millionaire. Don't sign until midnight. The rain poured relentlessly, drenching the city's streets, blurring the line between the ordinary and the eerie. Flickering streetlights cast haunting shadows as Jenna, a scrappy delivery girl, pedaled through the storm. She wasn't just delivering dinner. She carried a warning. She could feel it deep in her bones. Something was terribly wrong. Earlier that day, the millionaire, Robert Grayson, had been seated at a lavish oak table in a penthouse suite, surrounded by immaculate suits, 15 of them, each one an accountant, each one supposed to mastermind a billion-dollar deal. But as the clock ticked down towards midnight, they were oblivious, discussing profits, figures, and success, believing they had it all sewn up. Little did they know how the winds of fate were changing. Rumor had it that there was a shadow lurking, a threat bathing the million-dollar papers in peril. Jenna heard whispers, murmurs at the diner where she worked. "He'll sign it," someone said. "No one can stop him." But the air crackled with something darker, a sense of dread that clutched at her throat. She burst into the penthouse, her heart racing, hands trembling, the weight of the message overwhelming. "Mr. Grayson," she gasped, but time slipped away as heads turned. The bleak faces of the accountants turned a shade paler, eyes wide with disbelief. "What are you doing here?" one of them barked. "This is a professional meeting." Before she could respond, the lights flickered once more, plunging them into brief darkness. Jenna felt the heavy gaze of the millionaire on her. "You need to listen," she implored, urgency thick in her voice. "Don't sign until midnight." Her warning hung in the air, both bold and fragile. Just then, the silence shattered. Someone gasped, a chair scraped against the floor, and the tension was palpable, a living thing that wrapped around them all. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The clock ticked ominously. Jenna could feel her palms sweat as she continued. "The deal, it's a trap. Someone wants to take everything from you." The accountants glanced at each other, confusion and skepticism battling in their eyes. Time was running out, and with each second, the gravity of her words hung heavily between them. She'd walked into a lion's den, and the tension was thick enough to slice with a knife. One accountant stood, his brows furrowed, leaning forward like he was about to unravel a secret. "Who told you this, girl?" he scoffed, but Jenna could see the uncertainty creeping into his voice. The others shifted in their seats, uneasily assessing the delivery girl who'd crashed their high-stakes meeting. But as the clock struck 10, a strange vibrato filled the room, a vibrating hum that seemed to permeate their souls. They could feel it. A storm was brewing outside, but the tempest within the penthouse was about to unfold. What if she was right? What if signing would be their demise? As the murmurs intensified, Jenna's eyes locked with Robert's. A glimmer of something fearful flickered in his gaze. Would he heed her warning? Would they realize the danger before it was too late? The uncertainty of the moment was alive, pulsing like a heartbeat, and the ultimate question loomed larger than life. Would they walk away from it all, or dive headfirst into the storm that awaited? Jenna's heart thudded in her chest as silence sank into the room, heavy and suffocating. She scanned the worried faces of the accountants, each one grappling with the weight of her assertion. The neon city lights outside lit up the penthouse in flashes, illuminating their faces, a mix of disbelief, fear, and curiosity. "What kind of trap?" Robert finally asked, his voice low, almost a whisper. The room leaned in to hear. Jenna took a shaky breath, every eye on her like a laser beam. "I don't know the details," she admitted, her voice stronger than before. "But I overheard people talking. They want to steal your fortune, Mr. Grayson. They'll make it look legitimate, but it's anything but." The wide eyes of the suit-wearing financiers turned towards one another. Jenna felt the heat of their uncertain energy. One by one, they looked to Robert, seeking direction. Their murmurs faded to silence as he considered her words, his expression a storm of conflict. "Do you believe her?" One accountant finally spoke up, tilting his head. Fear dripped from his words like rain off a gutter. What if she is lying? What if she is telling the truth? Robert shot back, his face taut with tension. This isn't something we can brush off. We've worked too hard for this. Jenna noticed the way Robert clenched his fists, a man on the brink of a decision. At least check the documents again, she urged, her urgency rising with every second. Don't let them blind you with assurances. As Robert motioned for the contracts, a loud bang echoed through the penthouse like the clap of thunder. The lights flickered again, but didn't dim this time, and the accountant stiffened, casting paranoid glances around the room. It felt as if the walls were listening. Just get on with it. One of the accountants spat, clearly irritated and tense. The others continued to look at Jenna, and she could almost feel them analyzing her, weighing the veracity of her warning against their instincts. They began to shuffle through the papers, some holding them with bated breath, as if handling a live grenade. Jenna's pulse raced. Did they really have time? Midnight was still hours away, but it felt closer, like a ticking bomb ready to explode. Suddenly, the sound of sirens wailed in the distance, closing in. It was a sound that ignited something primal in Jenna, a sense of urgency that cut through the room like a knife. We need to act now, she urged, her chest tightening. If they're coming for you, the accountants exchanged nervous glances, their resolve shattering like glass under pressure. Jenna's mind raced as pieces fell into place. Were they really the target? Or was someone closer to them pulling the strings? Just as Robert was about to issue an order, the door swung open with a crash, revealing a figure silhouetted by the hallway light. A woman, tall and elegant, stepped forward, her eyes gleaming with menace, a stark contrast to the chaos in the penthouse. Am I interrupting? She purred, her voice dripping with authority. The room fell into a stunned silence. Time slowed as Jenna's heart raced. Who was she? What did she want? And why did it feel like the storm had just begun? Jenna's instincts screamed that they were out of time. The unraveling threads of danger surrounded them, and in the moments that followed, every decision would count. The weight of the unknown loomed large. Would they survive the night? When the door slammed shut behind her, Jenna knew one truth. Whatever was coming, it would be more than just a business deal gone wrong. The countdown to midnight had begun, and they were running out of time. Jenna stood frozen as the woman took another step forward, the soft click of her heels echoing like gunshots in the tense silence. The accountants shifted, eyes darting between the new arrival and Robert, who looked as if he were caught in a web, each thread tightening with every passing second. Who are you? Robert demanded, his voice steady, but Jenna could hear the underlying tremor of fear. Just a friend. Of your enemies, the woman said, her lips curling into a smirk. I think you're in over your head, Mr. Grayson. Enough games. One accountant snapped, his voice breaking the heavy tension. We're not here for theatrics. The woman smiled wider, almost amused. Oh, but theatrics are precisely what you're in for. She turned, sweeping her gaze over the gathered group, the glint in her eye sharper than any knife. You see, the deal you're contemplating? It isn't what it seems. It's all part of a bigger plan, one that involves this building, your assets, and a whole lot of pain for anyone who stands in the way. Jenna's heart raced faster. This was no casual interruption. The woman's presence seemed to pulse with danger. What do you know? She shouted, almost instinctively stepping forward, her voice breaking through the churning dread in the room. If you know something, you need to tell us. Desperate, aren't we? The woman replied, eyes narrowing slightly as they landed on Jenna. What would a delivery girl like you understand about power? Enough to know that people like you thrive on intimidation. Jenna shot back, the sting of her own words surprising even herself. Robert glared at her, but didn't he reprimand her outburst. Let us just hear what she has to say, he urged, his voice a pillar of resolve, masking his uncertainty. The woman laughed softly, almost mockingly. Very well, but I can't promise you'll like the truth. She glanced at Jenna, her expression shifting as if considering something deeply personal. You warned them, and now you're part of the game. What if I told you that the biggest threat is not external, but right here among you? The air thickened. Robert's brow furrowed deeper, and one of the accountants leaned closer, whispering, What does she mean? Don't play innocent with me. The woman snapped, her voice suddenly sharp, slicing through their confusion. It's all interconnected. The documents you're sifting through, do you understand what you're truly signing? Are you prepared to face the consequences if you push forward? Jenna could barely breathe. Each word hung heavy in the air, igniting flashes of doubt and panic. What was she walking into? The lights flickered as if the very building shuddered at the impending truth. Listen, the woman continued, her tone softening. The clock is ticking. Midnight isn't just a deadline. It's a line drawn in the sand. Cross it, and you may find not just your finance at stake, but your lives. Why should we trust you? Robert retorted, a mix of anger and fear flickering on his face, clearly unwilling to swallow the pill she was offering. You could be part of whatever trap Jenna spoke of, or I could be your only chance. She locked her gaze onto Robert, the piercing intensity in her eyes demanding attention. The room fell silent, the weight of her implication forging a bond in that moment. Jenna felt the tension roll off the walls as they considered each other. The seconds were dissolving like sugar in water, and a flicker of resolve ignited in her. She needed to act. But what if this woman was lying? Then show us proof. Jenna found her voice rising again, fueled by the urgency coursing through her veins. If there's a trap set for us, we deserve to see it. The woman hesitated, her face unreadable. Then, with a slow, deliberate nod, she reached into her bag. Jenna braced herself, unsure if they were about to witness salvation or their ultimate downfall. The air hummed with anticipation as heavy as the night. Prepare yourselves, the woman said, her voice dropping to a whisper. What I'm about to reveal could change everything, but just as she began to pull out a stack of papers, a loud crash echoed from the hallway, halting their breaths and sending a shock through the assembled group. A shadow darted past the door, and the sirens grew louder. They were no longer alone, and whatever was barreling toward them had teeth. What were they about to face, and would they even make it to midnight? Jenna's heart raced again as she fought to keep the fear at bay. The stakes were about to escalate, and she knew the danger was only just beginning. The crash from the hallway reverberated through the room, sending a collective chill down everyone's spine. Jenna's heart hammered in her chest as she glanced at the woman, who had frozen, her hands still poised over the papers. For a long second, the only sound was the frantic thumping of Jenna's pulse in her ears. Stay close, Robert shouted, instinctively stepping in front of Jenna, shielding her like an anxious knight ready to face a dragon. The accountants formed a haphazard circle, their breaths quickening as they awaited the unknown. The woman lowered her hand, bringing the papers closer to her chest. You should heed my warning, she said, her voice trembling slightly. The truth doesn't care if it's revealed under duress. Let us not lose focus, one accountant said, trying to maintain composure, despite the cold sweat glistening on his brow. What is out there? Before anyone could respond, the sound of heavy boots echoed closer, accompanied by muffled voices. Jenna could make out urgency, fear, and something darker. She inched toward Robert, her mind racing. What had they stirred up? Prepare to move. A voice shouted from outside, deep and menacing. The woman's eyes flickered to the door, her earlier bravado dimming as a flicker of uncertainty creased her forehead. They're coming for you, and I might be your only way out. Her tone shifted, taking on an almost pleading quality as she clutched the papers tighter. What are you talking about? Robert demanded, his voice low but commanding. Who is coming? What matters is that time isn't on your side. She hissed, urgency spilling from her. If they reach you before midnight, the door burst open. A tall figure loomed in the doorway, silhouetted against the distant emergency lights flickering down the hallway. Jenna's breath caught. Get back, the figure shouted, stepping inside the room. It was a security guard, his face taut with panic. We need to evacuate now. There has been a breach in security. Chaos erupted. The accountants scrambled, the air thick with confusion. The woman took a step back, her earlier confidence slipping. They can't come in here. Not yet. You need to hear what I have to say. Shut up. One accountant snapped, flinging his phone across the room in a fit of fear-driven rage. We don't have time for this. Forget her, the guard shouted, his eyes wild as he gestured for them to move. There's a threat, something out there. We don't know if anyone else is stopped. Jenna's voice cut through the chaos, raw and desperate. She knows something. If we run now, we're putting ourselves in even more danger. Everyone turned to her, and Jenna felt the weight of their expectant stares. This chaotic moment felt frostbitten, yet alive. They were on the edge of a cliff, waiting to see just how deep the abyss really was. The guard hesitated, and for a brief moment, silence enveloped them all like a shroud. "What do you know?" he asked, directed at the woman again. Skepticism etched across his features. "In that bag," the woman said, regaining her steely demeanor. "A bad decision is on the table. Sign them, and you'll be condemned. I can prove it." The door swung wide open again, revealing shadows stirring angrily just outside. Jenna felt her body tense. "We don't have much time." Anxiety dripped from her voice. What if she guessed right? Hesitation flickered in the guard's eyes, but the heavy footsteps echoed ever closer. "Decide now," the woman demanded, her voice fierce, unwavering in the torrent of panic surrounding them. "Do you want the truth or to run away into the unknown?" The clock ticked loudly, each second looming beneath the weight of their choices. From the corner of her eye, Jenna caught the flicker of movement, a shadow darting across the corridor beyond them. What could be lurking in the darkness, and would they grasp at the fragile lifeline she was offering? Time was slipping away, and they had to choose, but what if their decision sealed their fate? The air was charged, electric with dread. Jenna's heart raced as she stood at the precipice of a decision that could alter everything. The woman's eyes bore into the guard's, each second stretching like an eternity, and Jenna could feel the tension building as if it were a tangible force, pressing down on her chest. "Sign the papers," one of the accountants shouted, panic leaching into his voice. What's the worst that could happen? A floorboard creaked ominously beneath their feet, the sound magnified in the tense silence. Shadows flickered at the door as figures pressed against the walls, their faces obscured by darkness. The guard turned to the accountants, shouting, "You don't understand. We're dealing with something beyond." Before he could finish, the lights flickered and then dimmed, plunging them into a near darkness that felt suffocating. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the corridor, followed by shouts urgent, demanding, a cacophony of fear that sent waves of panic rippling through the room. "Run!" cried one voice from outside, the tone breaking and laced with terror that gripped them all like ice. "Shut the door!" Robert yelled, lunging toward it as if his command could halt the impending calamity. But the shadows pushed through, an unyielding tide creeping closer, no longer just indistinguishable forms in the dark, but figures of menace, visceral and too real. "What do you know?" The guard pressed again, desperation lined in every word as if their very lives depended on the woman's answer. "You've got to tell us now." The woman's papers trembled in her grip, and for a moment, her facade of strength shattered. "They want to silence the truth. They want to make you complicit." Her voice was a desperate plea now, cracking under the pressure. "If you sign, there will be no return. Not for any of us." "Enough," shouted another accountant, pushing past the grave tension. "We can't decide anything while they're out there." But his voice faltered as he caught a glimpse of something out the door. "Do you see that?" he hissed, pointing. The breathless silence shattered as the guard turned, his face going pale as he caught movement in the darkness just beyond the threshold. "Get inside," the guard snapped, forcing everyone closer together. They clustered around the woman, suspicion still thrumming through them like a bowstring ready to snap. Each heartbeat echoed like a primal drum, wild and unrelenting, urging them to decide. "It's now or never," the guard pleaded. He took a step back, drawing his weapon, the glint of metal a small beacon of hope in the thickening gloom. "We can't let them take anyone." The tension was palpable. Every eye darted from one person to another, each face brimming with fear, yet desperate hope clung to the edges. Jenna felt it. Like fire rising from the ashes, hope turned to an insistent whisper in her mind. What if they faced the truth instead of running? "Don't sign," she urged, her voice trembling but firm. A rush of instinct seized her, feeling that the weight of their future sat squarely on this choice. But before she could continue, a thunderous bang echoed through the door, reverberating off the walls with a force that made them all jump. The shadows surged forward, a wall of encroaching darkness. The door splintered against a powerful blow, cracking open just enough to reveal a glimpse of chaos outside, a distorted reality of shouts and movement, like a scene from a nightmare dragging closer. "Choose now," the woman shouted, her eyes ablaze with urgency. Before it's too late. What would they decide? Jenna's mind raced as the door creaked again, threatening to break entirely. The truth or the void? Time hung heavy, each second grating against her resolve. And then, like thunder rumbling overhead, the walls trembled with the weight of their impending fate. As the shadowy forms neared the door, Jenna thought she saw the truth looming behind the chaos. But could they bear it when the moment of revelation crashed down around them? Do we trust her? Robert whispered, glancing between Jenna and the woman. It was their last chance, their last flicker of hope against the mounting darkness. The stakes had never been higher. But would they see it before it was too late? Jenna's breath hitched as she braced herself for the decision, fear and resolve clashing within her. Would the answers they sought welcome them, or obliterate them all? The door slammed violently against the wall with an explosive force, sending splinters flying. Jenna's heart raced as the tension in the room escalated, palpable and suffocating. Shadows spilled into the room, dark figures creeping closer, carrying a menacing aura that made her skin prickle. "Get back!" the guard shouted, aiming his weapon into the dark, eyes wide and frantic. The cacophony of screams and shouts from outside filled the air like a living nightmare, sending shivers down Jenna's spine. The fear was like a living thing, curling around her throat. What had unleashed this chaos? A cold sweat clung to her skin, and she felt the weight of the decision pressed down on her again. "We can't sign. How can we trust anything she's saying? We'll be giving them everything." Her voice trembled but rang out against the din of panic. "Do you think this is a game?" the woman cried, her eyes wild. "You think you know what they want, but you don't. They'll destroy everything you value. Don't you get it?" The shadowy figures surged forward again. Robert yanked Jenna back, just as the door quaked under another impact. "We have to secure the door. We can't let them in." He threw his weight against it, but it was a losing battle. "Stay together," the guard yelled, his voice cutting through the chaos. "We need to hold on until help arrives." "Help?" One of the accountants gasped, his face ashen. "Who's coming?" "There's no one left to help." Jenna's stomach twisted at the realization. Fear coursed through her, but underneath that, she felt a flicker of determination igniting. She stepped forward, her voice cutting through the panic. "What if signing doesn't protect us? What if it makes things worse? We need to know what we're doing before we act. But standing here could get us killed." Another accountant shouted, panic spilling over. "We need to know the truth." Jenna insisted, her resolve hardening. "If we don't know what is happening, how can we make a choice? We can't risk it." The woman locked eyes with Jenna, and in that moment of shared desperation, something shifted in the air. There was a depth of knowledge in the woman's gaze, as if she could see the shadows coiling around them and knew the stakes they faced. Jenna felt an exhilarating rush and understanding that there was power in knowing the real story behind those contracts. The door crashed again, and cracks spiderwebbed through the wood. The guard tightened his grip on his weapon, eyes darting nervously. A shout echoed from the corridor, "We need to suddenly." A blinding light flooded the doorway. Figures rushed in, illuminated by the harsh glow of flashlights, revealing faces twisted with urgency. They were familiar, faces she thought were lost to the past, old friends, colleagues from a life before the shadows crept in. "Jenna," one of them shouted, scrambling forward. "We thought you were." Before she could respond, the guard stepped into the beam of light, his expression darkening. "What are you doing here?" "We need to hold this position." But chaos erupted again as shadows broke through the threshold, crawling over the threshold like a flood. The newcomers yelled, and in the maelstrom of adrenaline and energy, Jenna reached for the papers lying abandoned on the table. She could sense the silent weight of the choices ahead, to act or not to act, to trust or to doubt. That in that moment, her hands trembled, but Jenna knew she had to choose. She took a deep breath. "We can't let the darkness take over. If we sign, we're giving in." "Jenna, no!" Robert cried, grabbing her wrist. "You can't." But it was too late. With one swift motion, she pushed the papers toward the woman. "Tell us what's really going on." The tension boiled. As the shadows closed in, she saw the woman's mouth move to speak, a truth brimming on the edge of chaos. But before words could escape, a chilling howl echoed, sending shivers through everyone present. Behind them, a figure stepped forward from the darkness, masking the woman's voice. Jenna felt her heart drop into her stomach. It was the last person she expected to see, the one they feared most. Let me in, her voice smooth and deadly. Or watch everyone you love disappear. What would Jenna do now? The truth was painted in shadows, and the danger was closer than ever. Jenna's breath caught in her throat as she faced the figure emerging from the shadows. Claire, the very person they had tried so hard to escape. The air felt thick, like a weight pressing down on her chest. Claire's smile was like a predator's, sharp and dangerous, the kind that promised trouble. Jenna, still playing the hero. I see, Claire taunted, eyes gleaming in the spotlight. You think you can save these people? You think you have the power to stop what's coming? I won't let you hurt them. Jenna shot back, her voice firmer than she felt. The guard shifted nervously, still poised with his weapon, but uncertainty painted his features. Behind Jenna, the accountants murmured, their fear bubbling into panic. Claire, what do you want? One of them shouted, the tremble in their voice giving away their fear. A flicker of amusement danced across Claire's face. What do I want? Simple. The same thing I've always wanted. Control. Power. And I'm here to reclaim what you've tried to take from me. Reclaim? Jenna spat back. You instigated all this. You brought the shadows. Oh, darling, Claire purred, stepping closer, shadows curling around her like servants clamoring for attention. I only revealed what lay beneath the surface. You'd be surprised how many were ready to sign away their lives for safety. Silence is a powerful weapon. The accountants exchanged fearful glances, confusion mingling with rising dread. Jenna could sense their desperation, their need for safety, but Claire's seduction of their fears screamed disaster. Just hear her out, Jenna. What if Robert began, but Jenna cut him off? No. Her voice rang out, sending a ripple through the crowd. We can't listen to her. We've seen what her kind does. It doesn't end well. We'll be sacrificing everything. The shadows nearest to Claire began to shift, morphing into indistinct shapes, as if they were alive and eager. They whispered in a low hiss, slithering forward like ink pooling on paper. Jenna felt a chill run down her spine. Claire waved a dismissive hand, a grin widening across her face. Then why don't you prove me wrong? Show me the power you think you have. You should know what's at stake here, Jenna. A loud crash echoed through the room. The door splintered violently as more dark figures rushed in, pushing against the edges of light, ready to drown out the last flickers of hope. The accountant's shouts layered with screams as they scrambled backward, panic eclipsing reason. The guard tightened his stance, but there were so many shadows cascading in like an approaching storm. Jenna glanced at the fleeing figures around her. They were caught between fear and a desperate desire for safety. Get out, Jenna shouted, her voice cracking under the strain. You'll be trapped in here. Stay close. Yet, deep down, she questioned the path ahead. Who could she trust? Claire stood there, sauntering backward as if leading a dance, illuminating the chaos she had orchestrated. Choose wisely, Jenna, Claire taunted, brushing her fingers through the darkness that followed her. Sign the contracts and save them, or hold on to your pride and watch them fall. What will you do when the clock strikes midnight? The room's atmosphere thickened, drawing Jenna into an inescapable vortex of dread. Midnight echoed in her mind, reverberating ominously as if it were some deadline looming over her. Time was slipping away, and with every passing moment, the shadows gathered, eager to envelop her world in darkness. Jenna felt the weight of a decision pressing on her shoulders, her heartbeat thrumming in her chest like a war drum. And as the final echoes of her defiance lingered, Jenna understood. The real battle was just beginning, and Claire wasn't the only problem she faced. Would anyone make it out alive before the clock struck midnight? Jenna's heart raced as the chaos exploded around her. Shadows clawed at the walls, drawing closer with each fearful gasp. Her thoughts twisted like the dark forms rushing in. Claire had shifted from formidable foe to orchestrator of horror, each moment draped in the promise of despair. Jenna. Robert's voice sliced through the panic as he stumbled backward, his fear pulsing in the air. We have to do something. No, she shouted, desperation fueling her. We can't get caught up in her game. We need to stay united. The shadows shifted and whispered, growing restless as they shifted their forms, creating grotesque shapes that mirrored the terror on the accountants' faces. Jenna stepped forward, less for bravery and more to buy time. Let us form a line. Together, we can push back. But as she spoke, the dark figures solidified, merging into massive blockades that edged closer, seeping into their space. Jenna felt the icy fingers of fear grip her. Suddenly, a voice shouted from the back, "Why not listen to her? She has power." The murmur sneered through the crowd, and Jenna turned. Anger surged within her. It was Claire's trick again, spinning doubts like a spider weaving a web. "Is that what you want?" Jenna yelled, shifting her gaze over the accountants, who were now glancing at each other with uncertainty. To trade one prison for another? What does this power bring other than chains? Robert's eyes widened, reflecting her fear. But she knows the truth. She has got something we don't. Options. Options. Jenna echoed, voice sharp with disbelief. Or just more illusions. Open your eyes. Claire threw back her head and laughed, the sound echoing like sinister wind chimes among the shadows. "Oh, Jenna, you're adorable. But they're already lost. If they don't join me, there's no way out. You're fighting for a lost cause." Suddenly, the room trembled as another wave of darkness surged forward, a monstrous wave threatening to swallow them whole. The air thickened like a wall, and shadows dashed forth, their ghastly whispers wrapping around Jenna's throat, squeezing tightly. "Everyone move." Jenna screamed, adrenaline igniting a fire within her. "To the back. We need to barricade ourselves." Panic enveloped them, each person scrambling toward the far wall, where Jenna could see a flickering light near the exit. The guard, still and used but uncertain, shifted uneasily, torn between his duty and the survival instinct fueling his heart. The figures from the shadows pulsed and throbbed, morphing into frightening shapes, taunting her resolve with menacing forms, twisted faces of torment and despair. As they neared, Jenna felt the pressure of despair tighten around her, but she planted her feet, refusing to buckle. "Robert," she shouted, desperate, "you've got to trust me. Help me find something sharp, anything to defend ourselves." Robert blinked, the fear draining from his face as he found a metal rod half buried under scattered papers. "Here." He handed it to Jenna, who gripped it like a lifeline. With the tremors of darkness closing in, Jenna felt the weight of responsibility for the accountants bearing down harder than ever. If they signed with Claire, the darkness would consume them. "You need to listen," she barked, turning back to the frantic faces. "This is our moment. We can't surrender to fear." As the shadows lunged, Jenna raised her makeshift weapon, her resolve crystallizing. She couldn't let Claire win. This was a matter of survival, of fighting for the light in a world spiraling into impending doom. But just as she steadied herself, she caught a movement at the corner of her eye. Claire's silhouette was shifting, melding with the shadows behind. "Fools." Claire's voice pierced through the tension. "You have no idea what is truly at stake. When midnight strikes, it won't just be fear you face. It will be the reckoning of all you cherish." Jenna gasped, an icy wave slamming into her. What did Claire mean by reckoning? What darkness was bound to emerge when the clock hit midnight? Determined, Jenna steeled herself for the fight that lay ahead. With the seconds slipping away, she understood the battle wasn't merely against Claire, but against the darkness that threatened to consume everything they held dear. Would the accountants rally behind her? Or would fear lead them willingly into the abyss? Jenna braced for the confrontation, knowing with certainty that the next few minutes would change everything. What would she do when the clock finally struck midnight? The shadows seemed to pulse with life, surging forward like a dark tide eager to engulf them. Jenna's heart thundered in her chest, drowning out all reason. In this moment, clarity sliced through her panic. She had to act. "Listen to me," Jenna screamed, her voice barely rising above the cacophony of chaos. "We need to stand together. We can't let fear blind us." The accountants' faces flickered with indecision. Doubts rippled through the group like an electric current. "Is it too late?" whispered one voice in the back. The question hung heavy in the air, as oppressive as the stifling darkness. "As long as we resist, it's not too late," Jenna cried, gripping Robert's rod like a lifeline. She could feel his pulse racing next to her, the tension coiling between them, thick and electric. Without breaking eye contact, he nodded, and it was enough to spark a glimmer of hope. Behind her, the shadows twisted, coiling around the walls, forming a spectral wall that threatened to close in. Jenna could see their faces contorting in agony, flickering between horror and resignation. They were terrified, and it was so easy to buckle under that fear. "Stay with me," Jenna yelled, and she could see Robert shifting, stepping forward, solidarity sparking in his chest. "We're stronger together. Just a few moments more, don't give in." Claire's laugh echoed again, cold and chilling as the darkness surged closer. "You think strength can shield you?" she taunted. "Feel it. The inevitable is upon you." And then it happened. The shadows lunged, a writhing mass, as Jenna lunged to the side, taking the strike of darkness with the metal rod. The impact sent shockwaves through her arm, but she held firm. The shadows hissed, recoiling just slightly, a first victory, but not enough. Robert swung beside her, striking out at the swirling tendrils, but it was only a temporary respite. More shadows flooded in, more grotesque than the last. "Jenna!" Robert shouted, panic threading through his voice. "They're breaking through. Keep fighting." She yelled back, feeling the steel determination course through her, despite the doubt whispering in her ear. Jenna turned to the frantic crowd, her heart racing. "We need to push back. Who's with us?" A few faces began to harden, she could see it in their eyes, flickering like flint. But then, Claire spoke again, her voice dripping with venom. "They'll betray you if you don't join me. What awaits you in the darkness is far worse than any deal I offer." The accountants hesitated, the question of loyalty emerging, twisting into forms of confusion. Jenna felt the churn of emotions around her, fear and hope intermingled in the air, a potent mix that could swing either way. "Forget her," Jenna shouted, pushing through the din. "You know what she promises is a lie. You can choose. Choose to fight." But just as she rallying call reached fever pitch, the clock on the wall began to ominously tick louder, each second echoing like a drumbeat towards midnight. The weight of time folded over them, threatening to crush every ounce of resistance. Suddenly, in the throes of chaos, Jenna saw something glimmer at the far edge of the room, a small key lying on the floor, wisps of light swirling around it. It pulsed gently, almost alive. "Look," she shouted, pointing. "That key. It might be our way out." All eyes darted toward the glimmering object. In that split second, the world slowed. Fear broke momentarily as hope sparked. But just as they turned to rally and move, the encroaching shadows shifted in a furious wave, surging forward faster than Jenna had anticipated. "What do we do?" Someone screamed as their backs pressed against the wall, shadows darting dangerously close. "Get it!" Jenna yelled, her voice a desperate command. But with the darkness closing in around them, Jenna's heart sank. Could they reach the key before the shadows swallowed them whole? As desperation clawed at her throat, Jenna knew they had only seconds to decide. Was it the key to their escape, or merely a trap laid by Claire? The air was thick with tension as the seconds ticked away. Midnight was almost here, and with it, the reckoning Claire promised. What would happen when the clock struck 12? Jenna's breath quickened, realizing the true depth of their peril. Would they all choose faith over fear? The decision weighed heavy on her heart. With the shadows lunging, they were left with one last chance. Would they take it? The shadows surged forward, a dark wave threatening to engulf Jenna and the others. Her heart raced as she screamed, "Get the key!" Hope flickered, urging them to act before they were pulled into chaos. She could feel the weight of the moment pressing down, forcing the rallying cry to rise from her chest. Robert's face twisted in determination. On three. 1, 2, 3. They surged toward the glimmering key lying just out of reach, the darkness swirling around them like a predator. The moment felt fragile and electric. As Jenna dove for the key, she felt a gust of cold air rush past, the shadows hissing like angry serpents. Still, she reached for the key, her fingers stretching, her heart pounding. Yes. She grasped it tightly. A jolt of energy shot through her, bright and warm, cutting through the suffocating dark. With the others rallied behind her, she stood, holding it aloft, the light casting away the shadows momentarily. "Everyone, focus!" Jenna cried, her voice strong. "This could be our chance." "Yes," Robert shouted, determination igniting in his eyes. They stood together, forming a barrier against the encroaching darkness. The accountants shifted, the fear in their eyes mixing with a newfound resolve. "Listen," Jenna raised her arm higher. "We can't let Claire dictate our fate. We hold the power to fight. The accountants exchanged glances, uncertain but desperate. The shadows swirled dangerously, nearing the edge of their light, whispering deceitful promises. Claire's laughter rang out, sinister and mocking. You think that key can save you? You're fools to think you can escape what's destined for you. Jenna felt her back tightening, but she forced herself to stand taller. We can change destiny. No more deals. Just then, she spotted movement in the corner of her eye. Robert stared, fear creeping back into his expression as he shifted. Jenna, look out. That's when she felt the dark pressure surge forward, tightening around her. The shadows wrapped their tendrils around her legs, trying to pull her down. She inhaled sharply and held the key tighter. Was this how it would end? Fight it, Jenna, Robert shouted, pushing forward against the shadows pulling at her. The others began to help, desperate to claw her back from the abyss. With a powerful cry, Jenna summoned every ounce of strength she had. She lifted the key high, feeling its warmth radiate through her. We all have the light inside us. As if infused with magic, the key shimmered brighter, illuminating the room and casting aside the shadows. They writhed and hissed, desperately pulling away from the light. Now, push them back, Jenna urged. With renewed energy, the accountants joined in, their collective strength amplifying her call. They pressed their bodies together, forming a united front against the darkness. As the waves of dark shadows shrieked with rage, Jenna felt their power weaken. The light from the key blazed brighter, cutting through the gloom. The room filled with a vibrant glow, illuminating the faces of her allies. Suddenly, the clock on the wall began to chime, each toll a powerful reminder of their urgency. 12. Robert looked at Jenna, their eyes meeting with unyielding determination. We can do this. Together, Jenna shouted, raising the key higher. 13. The shimmering light poured forth, enveloping them completely. The shadows recoiled, shrieking as they collapsed into darkness. 14. Feel the power of unity, Jenna cried, the key now a radiant beacon. 15. The shadows disintegrated, scattering like ashes in the wind. Jenna and the others stood strong, clasping hands as the waves of light washed over them. 16. With that, the last remnants of darkness faded, leaving the penthouse bright and infused with hope. The key pulsed with a warm glow as Jenna's astonishment swept over her. Gasping in disbelief, the accountant's wide eyes reflected their relief. Did we win? One timidly asked. Yeah, Robert breathed, smiling brightly. We did. Jenna felt tears of joy welling up as she looked around at the survivors. Together, they had faced their fears. Together, they succeeded. I guess this is our new beginning, Jenna said softly, her heart swelling with pride that as they emerged from the penthouse into the cool night. A sense of elation washed over them. I don't know what awaits us, Robert said, standing beside her, but I know we can face it all together. And with that, they stepped forward into the city, a ribbon of light unfurling behind them, a testament to their struggles and triumphs. No darkness would ever weigh them down again. Jenna looked back one last time to where the shadows once lurked and smiled, ready to embrace this new chapter. Are you ready for your own transformation? If you want to be part of incredible stories unfolding right here, you need to subscribe now so you don't miss what's next. Smash that like button like Jenna brought the light. Flood the comments section with your theories and how you reacted to this ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this story. You know only true fans understand the power of community. Let us illuminate the world together.